Okay, now let's see here. Let's go some more stuff that's happened. I'm going to talk about voodoo. So that happened to me too. One night I'm laying in bed and all of a sudden I had a pain in my leg. I'm like, "What is that, Lord?" He's like, "It's voodoo. Go after it." I'm like, "Okay." So I get that. It's gone as soon as I do my prayer. Then they poke me on the other side. I did my prayer again, got rid of that. I mean, they just like moved all over my body, you guys. If somebody's got a voodoo doll out there that looks like me, apparently, so crazy to even think about that. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? This stuff is, there's people out there that really care to take me out. And he's like, yes, they do. I think Christy Jesse, she's a channel that the Lord's used with me. She really tells on this well. She said, you got to think of it this way. You're on the, if you are battling for the kingdom, you are on the most wanted poster in hell. Okay. So they don't like the evil one. Really, he sends all these cronies that he has under his thumb working for him. They think, oh yeah, this is a great thing. Well, these people are going to be totally they don't know what they've gotten themselves into, because I know that a lot of them had to pay for what they've done to me. So, and anybody that they touch in the kingdom, they're all going to pay dearly for what they have done. The Lord is very protective over all of his children. So, okay, what else then? I guess I'll get into some good stuff. This was one of my favorite things that he did with me. So one day, um, I live not too far out of Minneapolis in St. Paul area. Okay. So it was actually on Rosh Hashanah in 2023. 2023 was huge for me. So I had happened to take vacation that week. So all week I just spent it with the Lord, communing with him, getting in the word and whatever. I loved it. It was nice and relaxing. And, so Thursday, I said, "Well, Lord, what are you going to have? What are we going to do tomorrow?" I said, I thought you were going to do big stuff this week. I knew it was a very holy week. So I'm like, I thought you were going to do big stuff. He said, "Tomorrow we're going to go over to, we're going to go to Minnesota, go to the cities." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, can you tell me where?" And he said, "Tell you tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, so next morning I wake up and I was like, "Can you tell me now?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Yeah, I'd really like to know so I know which direction to go." So he said, "We're going to go to the Capitol." So I was like, "Okay." I'm like, I was like, "Let me get dressed." I got all dressed and I was like, "Okay, should I turn on my GPS? Because I'm not sure exactly where the exit is or any of that." He said, "No, I'll tell you where to go." I was like, "Okay." So I'm getting close. I know semi where it is. I've been over in front of it. That's it. I've driven in front of it. There's a frontage road in front of it. I have only driven on that road. So I was like, I'm not sure which one of these is the exit. I hadn't been over there in forever. So he said, I'll tell you where to turn." So there was an exit. I knew I was getting close. So I'm like, it was all backed up on this one. I'm like, "Lord, I'm not sure. Do I need to get in that lane?" He said, "No, it's the next one." Well, sure enough, I go around this curve so I can see it. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Lord. There it is." It says state capital. So I get off on that exit. And then I'm like, "I know it's on the right side, so I'm sure you want me to get all the way over, right?" He said, "Yep." So I get all the way over, and he said, "I'll tell you when to turn." So I was like, "Okay." So you can't see the state capitol at this point, right? It stands out because it's got a huge dome on it generally, but you couldn't see it because there's buildings and all this stuff. So I'm going down the road, and I don't know, a block before I'm gonna turn, he said, "Okay, at the next one, you're going to take a right." So I took a right. And then he said, "Go ahead and get over in the left lane." I'm like, "Okay." So I got, because you're going to turn left up here. So I was like, "Okay," got in the left lane. I go up to, I'm keep going. I don't know. It was like four or five lights down. He's like, "Okay, next light, you're going to take a left." And so I get over there, take a left, and then he's like, "Okay." I'm just cruising along. He said, "Okay, I'll tell you when to turn." And then he said, "Okay, take a right here." And then I turn and I look, and there's a state senate building. I had no clue where any of these buildings were, you guys. Okay. I never go over in this area. And I'm like, oh, I suppose you want me to start there because he was going to have me pray on these buildings. He's already told me that he's going to have me bind and slit throats of evil spirits influencing these people in these buildings. Okay. So, um, I go, I keep going. I was like, okay. I stepped in myself. I saw the state senate building, and I saw there was a parking ramp. Okay, so he didn't tell me to go park there, but I pulled in there, and then the dang thing was closed. I'm like, oh Lord! I said, I know you didn't tell me to go there, but where am I going to park around here? It's all paid parking and whatnot. So he said, just go back the same way you were going, and then take your next left. So I was like, okay. I took a left, and I look, and there's a all these businesses, but they have a big warning sign. This is for your car will be towed. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I should park there, Lord. He said, and then I looked over to the right, and there was a little office building with their own little ramp thing. He said, go park in there. So I go over in there, and I was like, I had to turn around to come back to it because it only had one entrance, an entrance area. One was an exit. So then I turn around, and I was like, it had that sign too. I'm like, Lord, I'm like, this says no parking too. You'll be towed. He said, just go in there, Linda. You're going to be fine. I was like, it wasn't loaded with cars. So I get in there, and then I notice that all these parking spaces have like a suite number on them. So I'm like, they're designated parking. I'm like, Lord, I can't park here. I'm going to get towed. He said, go all the way to the back, in the back, take a left and go all the way to the back. So I did. And sure enough, I drive straight into visitor parking. So I park there. And then I lock my purse in my trunk because I know I'm going to go walking and do this stuff. So I get out of the car, and we head over to I know where the Senate building is. So I start walking over there. And then he leads me, and then he gave me he said, I want you to say, he led me in my prayer. He said, I want you to say, under the authority of Jesus Christ. He had never had me do this before. Then he said, put your hand on there, and I want you to begin with that. And then he said, then all the Spirit will take over for you. So I did what he said. I prayed, and I was binding and slitting throats, and all kinds of stuff was coming out of my mouth, and he filled my mouth with the prayer. So then I was like, okay, where next? He said, okay, go down toward the Capitol. I knew where that was, right? So I kept on going down to the Capitol. I can see it at this point, and I get there, and he says, go over there and do the same thing. So I did that, and he filled my mouth with the prayers again. And then I'm like, okay. Then then I was like, okay, now where? He said, okay, look over there on the right. See across the street, see that building over there? And I said, yeah, I have no clue what these buildings are, you guys. I had no idea what was even around this. So I go over across the street. I get over there. I'm like, oh, the state assembly building. He has me do the same thing again. So then I'm like, now where? He said, go back in front of the Capitol and start walking over there. And he said, you see that red building way over there? I said, yeah. He said, we're going over there. So I'm walking in front of the Capitol. It's gigantic. So then I decided I did this myself. I decided I'd pray over the grounds because lots of people, gather together there. So I decided I'd pray over the grounds, but then I get over there, and that was the state Supreme Court. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, I'm just in awe of this whole thing. So I did the same thing there. Then I just was like, okay, I think that I looked down the street to the left, and I'm like, it looked like it was like industrial. So I'm like, I'm sure there's nothing down there. So I crossed back over, and I'm going to go in front of the Capitol. He goes, wait, stop. Take a right. I'm like, but Lord, there's nothing down there. So I uh so I said, okay, I'll go that way. So I went that way, and then there was a bridge, okay, and I had had to cross over this big, huge road that had like 4 lanes plus the light rail, and it was a super long light. I was like, so I'm thinking, oh look, he took me a different way back. To this is so I was thanking him for that. I didn't have to stand at that light. So anyway, I go, and then he says, okay, take this next left. Well, I take a left. There's the Department of Education. I'm like, you are kidding me. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta get over there and do that because they're pushing all this transgenderism, wokeism stuff at the schools. So I went over there, did that one. And oh, I forgot to mention when I was at the state senate building, okay, I had forgot to say at the end, um, I bind and slit your throat and cast you into the pit of hell. Okay. So I forgot that at the end. So I was like, I had mentioned it to him at the Capitol. He said, "Don't worry about it. Just keep going." Well, because he knew we were going to end up next to right down the right next across the street from the Department of Education. There was the state Senate building, you guys. So there it was, and I said, "There's the Senate building. Do you want me to go over there and cast him into the pit of hell?" He said, "Yes." And so I went over there and I did my prayer. And then I said, "Well, Lord, why'd you let me forget to do that?" He said, "Because I wanted that one to suffer for a little while." Gosh, you are too funny. So then I went back to my car, and then he gave me directions out of there because it's all kinds of one-way streets and you name it. So I was afraid I didn't know which way to go to get to and I didn't know where the on-ramp was. It's crazy in that area if you've never been there. So anyway, that was probably one of the most amazing things that he did with me. I'll never forget it. It was just phenomenal. So I feel very privileged. I want you guys to know that he's chosen me to do all this for everybody. I'm just in awe of him. It's certainly not anything I ever saw coming for me in my future. Frankly, I didn't think that we were going to get into Revelation in my lifetime. I really didn't. I mean, as time went by and with my walk with him, and I saw the things going on in the world, I was like, oh my gosh, I think we're getting close. Something's going. But I didn't know where he was taking me, you guys. All I did was chase after him. I wanted to get to know him. I just really poured myself into reading his word, trying to understand, talking to him, spending as much time as I could with him. Um, he wants us all he has special positions for every one of us. Now, I don't know if you want the same one I have with the witchcraft and all, but, because like I said, my husband, he's walking close with the Lord too. Not like I am, but, he knows the Lord. He hears his voice. And he loves him dearly, but he doesn't have the assignment I have. We all have different assignments. There's watchmen, there's gosh, he's had me doing everything. Another thing that I love to sing, so I sing to him all the time. That's a big part of my day. Every day I sing to him for an hour to 2 hours. um I just, I I always loved to sing. I wasn't a singer or any of that. I just always loved it since I was a kid. And so, anyway, I just absolutely love to sing to him. I do a lot of praise and worship for him too. So, pretty much my whole days are communing with the Lord, spent, singing to him, reading the word, studying whatever he leads me to. One thing I will say is, he's going to make you do a lot of work to figure out the truth, you guys. He doesn't just put it out on a silver platter. He would tell me, he'd just lead me to go read about everything or have me go look up this, look up that, look up that. That's the way he does it. He wants, because we have to seek him diligently, you guys. And, it's been an amazing journey, and I'm just so thankful that he's chosen me and he's using me as mightily as he has. I never expected it in a million years. I just wanted to make sure that I was pleasing in his sight was what my goal was at the beginning of this. And I wanted help. I knew I had issues. Knew I had been damaged a lot in my childhood. So anyway, all right, I think that's good for this one, and we'll see what he has me do next. All right, I love you guys, and God bless you all. I'm praying for you all.